Hey, party people. Welcome to my very first fashion documentaries and movies roundup and review. If you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments if you want another, because I cannot go over every fashion documentary and movie I've ever seen in one video. That would just make for an entirely too long of a video. So if you like this one, you want another one, let me know. I have divided the movies I want to talk about in three categories. Number one, fashion documentaries. Like legit interviewing real people and their real life experiences, etc., etc. Number two, fictional movies about fashion. Movies where the main character is a fashion designer, stuff like that. And then the third category is just random movies of every genre that just has really amazing clothes, okay? So three categories. First category, fashion documentaries. I watched a bunch recently, and there's some that I watched before. The first one I want to talk about is Dior and I, which came out in 2011, and you can watch it on Netflix now. And it's about Raf Simons' first collection for Dior. And it just so happens it was a couture collection that he needed to finish in 8 weeks. It was such a great movie to watch. I know that documentaries can be like a little bit tedious sometimes. I mean, I don't find them tedious, but I know other people want a little bit more action, more plot driven. This one had action and was driven by plot, and there was some legit drama, and not just like random, like weird, like Project Runway crap drama, but like drama involving the work. And, you know, sometimes when, and it was funny because I was just thinking, like, everyone is working like crazy on the new couture collection. Is anybody working on producing the previous collections? Like, is there staff devoted to them separately? And what would, like 5 minutes after I thought that, crash, boom, like, one of the things I love most about this movie is the fact that you really see how collaborative fashion design is. And the documentary really shows that, of course, the creative director works very hard, and he's always running around and looking at, you know, taking care of a million different categories of the work. But there's a lot of focus on the women who are draping the dresses and making the toiles and the support staff. And, you know, like, it really shows that it's a team effort to put this collection together. My least favorite thing about this movie was it really made me miss designing. And after the movie was over, I turned to my husband and was like, that's it. I'm quitting the channel. I'm going back to design full time. No. Ugh. The next one I saw is Maddman, the Steve Madden story. It came out last year. It's on Netflix. You can watch it now. And it chronicles how Steve Madden got started in the footwear industry, how he ended up in jail, and why. I don't know if you all watched The Wolf on Wall Street. There is a part where there's a dude who plays Steve Madden in all that insanity. And it's true. It's like Steve Madden got caught up in that whole Wall Street craziness, and that's how he ended up going to jail. And then what he did once he got out of jail and what he's up to now. And I found that whole story really fascinating. And it doesn't even really matter whether you're into his shoes. Some people consider him a knockoff king. Some people are like, yeah, cute, affordable shoes. But in the beginning, when he was first getting started, I was in high school and everyone wanted to wear Steve Madden shoes. Okay? That was the beginning in the 90s, way back then. Because, you know, I'm 120 years old. Number 3, Paris is Burning. This one's an older one. This one was released in 1990. And this one is also available on Netflix. And it focuses on New York City drag culture and competing in drag balls. And now the word balls, people think of, you know, big parties where people dress up and dance and eat and drink, right? But in this context, it was about dressing up and competing with each other in like the biggest, widest array of categories, you know, the most butch, the most femme, the most fabulous fashion, the most straight passing. Like, so many categories of how well you could dress and be the best in these categories. And my favorite thing was learning that voguing, like people think of voguing now as like a real fierce sort of like posing dancing. But it turns out that voguing was originally how you used to throw shade physically, non-verbally. And I love that so much. Number 4, I watched Luxury Goods Workshop. Yes, I know I'm kind of all over the place. I wanted to like talk about a whole variety. Luxury Goods Workshop is on m2m.tv, and they also have an app, which is so awesome. I'm on that app all the time. It's a deep dive into how certain French luxury items are made, including an Hermes scarf. So they go to the factory, they talk to the people who are making the boots and the rings and the scarves, and talking about the history of French craftsmanship. I love this kind of stuff. I love knowing about how things get made and the attention to detail and the history of a company that's been around for 100+ years. Like, I love that stuff. And if you were on my Instagram, people were asking, what's the movie with all the scarves? That's the movie with all the scarves. Next up is The Next Black, which came out in 2014, and it's on M2M. It's on Netflix, it's on YouTube, and I used to show this video to my students at university. It's a 45-minute documentary on the future of sustainable fashion and interviewing different designers who are going about it in different ways. It's super fascinating, and they're talking about moving forward in sustainable fashion in ways I didn't even consider. You know, some were more expected, and some were just like, are you kidding? Really? That's a thing that we can do? Really fascinating. Quick side note, I'll have a list of the titles in the description box below. Next one, the September issue. September issue it came out in 2009. It's currently available on Netflix. And I watched this a while ago. And the reason I brought it up today is I was reading, while I was researching different movies to watch, I read this thing where people were talking about how obsolete that movie is already. And it's 2009, so only 9 years ago. And at the time, it was already on its way out of being relevant. Every year it got, like when I was in high school, every year it got bigger. It was like 400 pages, and then it was 600 pages, and then it was like 900 pages. And like the double mid twins of fashion, Shalom Harlow and Amber Valletta were on the cover in jewel tones. And right, it was a big deal back then. But people don't really buy magazines anymore. They consume it on the internet, and it's not a monthly event getting your magazines, and it's not that big hurrah that it used to be. And so the September issue has really lost its effect, the importance of the September issue. But I still think that if you have any interest in how fashion journalism has evolved over the years, that watching that documentary is worth your time. Next are 2 biopics that I enjoyed very much. One is Diana Vreeland, The Eye Has to Travel, and that's from 2011 and available on M2M. And the other is Iris, and that came out in 2001, and that one is available on Netflix. It's just these 2 amazing characters, really, in fashion. Their personalities just exploding, like their small statured bodies contain that much personality. So it just had to like beam outward and just dazzle everyone in their path. They're both visual treats because you get to see, their history and their work. So here are the life lessons that I've learned from Iris and Diana Vreeland. Okay. Number 1, find yourself a man who supports your career, or a woman, or a non-binary person, okay? Like whatever. Find yourself a life partner that supports your career and your goals in life. That's important. Number 2, it's really okay not to be pretty. There's a lot of expectation to be pretty if you're a woman, like you are to be decoration. And these women were not considered conventionally beautiful, and they made their peace with that, and they talk about it in the respective biopics, and have moved forward and created these personas and looks for themselves, which I find much more interesting. I mean, it was worse back then, where women really were just supposed to be beautiful arm candy, and that's it. Both of those were quite inspiring. Okay, moving on to the next category, fictional movies about fashion. The first one I want to talk about is Mahogany, starring Diana Ross, and it came out in 1975, and I watched it on YouTube, and the costumes, when I looked it up on IMDb, it listed Diana Ross herself as the costume designer. That's cool. Anyway, in the movie, Diana Ross plays a woman who is trying to make it in the fashion industry as a designer. She's going to night classes while working at a department store as a secretary, and then she gets discovered by a photographer to model, and he whisks her off to Rome, and she starts making it as a model, and kind of the whole story. I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but that's what happens. Creative people like us, where, we will watch a movie just because we hear that the clothing is amazing. I heard the fashion in this movie was really great, so I watched it, and let me tell you, the fashion is really great. And so if you want like a visual treat, yes, go watch this. It's really great. It's 1975, that 70s style. If you love that long, lean, flared, like just kind of, it's great, right? But the story, okay, first of all, the photographer is played by the guy who plays the villain in the Psycho movies, the Hitchcock Psycho movies. And that explains a lot. Because I was like, why is this guy so good at being creepy? And where have I seen him from? Second thing is, there is a romantic relationship in the center of the movie. And it is so dysfunctional. He does not support her, and they keep messing up and not apologizing. Oh, it's terrible. Oh, like the couple just pissed me off so much. But the clothes are amazing. Of course, I have to mention The Devil Wears Prada, and that came out in 2006, and the costumes are by Patricia Field. She of Sex and the City fame. I think a lot of us know the deal about The Devil Wears Prada now. It's another movie featuring another butthole who does not support his girlfriend and her goals. Her boyfriend was a butthole. Number 3, Funny Face. Funny Face is from 1957, starring Audrey Hepburn and Fred Astaire. And the costumes were done mostly by Edith Head, and then all of Audrey Hepburn's costumes were done by Monsieur Givenchy himself. Oh, the fashion is beautiful. The sets are beautiful. And the fashion editor in the movie is actually based on Ms. Diana Vreeland. The movie is basically Audrey Hepburn plays this kind of bookish girl, introverted, and she's discovered and gets turned into a fabulous fashion model. No spoilers, but if you've heard that whole think pink, and pink is the navy blue of India, like if you've heard those like bon mots, then that is from the fashion editor character from Funny Face. And then I want to mention Ocean's 8 because I just saw it this summer. It was super fun. I am Awkwafina's #1 fan, and I just love Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett's costumes. I think they had the best costumes. And the reason I put it in this category is it's a heist movie, but it's a heist at the Met Ball. And there are all these cameos by actual fashion people in the movie. It's like when you watch Zoolander, it's like, can you spot the person? So many fashion characters, right? But that was just like a fun, breezy movie with fabulous clothes that mostly takes place at the Met Ball. Third category, movies that have great clothes. And there's a ton of them. I'm just gonna list a few of my favorites. Dreamy fashion from movie classics is Belle de Jour from 1967. And the costumes were by Helene Nourry and Yves Saint Laurent. That movie stars, why am I brain farting? Catherine Deneuve. And she plays this rich housewife who gets bored and decides to become a prostitute. But just during the day while her husband's at work. That's why the title is Belle de Jour, beauty of the day. It's an odd movie. The costumes are beautiful. I'll just leave it at that. I think it's a rated R movie, just FYI. In the contemporary category, Crazy Rich Asians. It's out now in theaters. Like, legit amazing costumes on everybody. And there were a lot of clever things. Like, you know, on the surface, Crazy Rich Asians is just like a really fun romantic comedy. And then it's, you know, a little bit deeper, and it's really about breaking Asian stereotypes. And people think that when you're talking about rich Asians, they're all wearing a bunch of cheongsams threaded in gold embroidery or some crap. And let me tell you, nobody looks like a waitress at a Chinese restaurant in America in this movie. The costumes are very high impact. I really love it. And the wedding scene, I don't love the wedding dress, but the wedding scene is to die. 80s Extravaganza Award goes to Heather's, made in 1988, wardrobe by Rudy Dillon. The shoulder pads, the Christian Slater, the Winona Ryder, the dark humor, the tweed blazer. Oh, it's so good. It's so 80s. Like, just it's supposed to be in high school. I don't know if anybody really dressed like that in high school in the 80s. I'm not old enough for that, but yeah, it's one of the best 80s costume movies. Historical Costume on Acid Award goes to Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette. That came out in 2006, and the costumes were done by Milena Canonero. And it is... Listen, I mean, they're like as historically accurate as Hollywood gets, really, before they get into documentary territory. But there's something about the way the colors are used where you do kind of feel like you're on drugs when you're watching it. It's good stuff. And then the menswear award goes to Kingsman, The Secret Service. It came out in 2014, and the costume designer is Arianne Phillips. And the movie, so it's a spy movie. They're a secret spy agency, and the front for their spy agency is a Savile Row tailoring shop. And so all the agents wear beautifully cut, bespoke suits. Just really, really beautiful. Kingsman has a sequel. It's not as good as the first one, but the suits are still amazing. And you see Elton John running around in just like amazing, huge feathered costumes. So that is also a treat. That's it. I think I covered a whole bunch of movies. Do let me know in the comments if you would like another movie and documentaries roundup. Please do give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this movie. And I will see you in the next video.